Yeah, it's live now.
Well, good morning, Jagatji. How are you doing today?
Yeah, wonderful. All well. Thank you, Shobna.
Where are you joining me from this morning?
I am in Ahmedabad.
I'm in Kochi this morning, and it's raining cats and dogs here. It's been raining quite a bit the last few days.
Yeah, right.
So
Yes.
we'll give
The
folks
rain,
maybe
rain. Yeah, rain always starts in India from Kerala.
it does. And this year it's a bit early. I think it's a couple of weeks early. So hopefully we will be fine and safe. But maybe we'll give our audience another minute or two, and we'll start at sharp 8:30 with your
Yeah,
presentation. That would
certainly,
go.
certainly.
So, are you doing any travels this year with your mentor on the road?
Yes, in fact, I did that Montreal to Vancouver trip, and then we are planning Australia from Melbourne to Melbourne, 59
Amazing.
days, coast to coast. Yeah,
That's amazing. That's amazing.
yeah. Thank you.
I still remember the Vancouver trip very fondly when you arrived in Vancouver after your long road trip across Canada.
Right. Yes, correct. It was the event. I mean, the hosted by BCIBN was absolutely the topping on the cake.
No,
Yeah,
and it's
it was
always
great.
nice when you end your journey, right?
Right. True.
Will you be making any trips to South India this year?
Yes, I should be because I'm in Bangalore for a month.
Oh,
Uh,
wow. Okay.
yeah, all of July I'm in Bangalore, and I may come to Kochi. I did a lot of work in Kerala. I was working for a World Bank project in LAP
Ah,
for 4 years in the
amazing.
Coir cluster. So I have a
Okay.
lot of friends. So I will
Wonderful.
be
Well,
coming
please
to.
do let me know when you're coming
Yes,
next, and would
absolutely.
love to meet you, but also, introduce you to few folks in my networks, and maybe we can
Yes,
collaborate on an event here live.
certainly,
Okay. So
absolutely.
shall we
Yes.
get started, Dr. Shah?
Yeah, sure. It's
Wonderful. So, very
8:30.
good morning to you, Dr. Jagat Shah. I am deeply honored that you accepted the invitation of BC India Business Network for our Global Impact Speaker Series. It's a new initiative we have started this year to connect India to the world and the world to India. And we have had now speakers before us who have come and shared their wisdom, their expertise, and their insights on different topics. And so I'm delighted you can join me today, and you're going to be presenting on a very important topic that is near and dear to my heart and which is very important to people in Canada and India, and that is charting a new course, India Canada Economic Partnership. But before I ask you to get started here, I want to warmly welcome all our guests who have joined us from around the world. Thank you so much for making the time to join Dr. Shah and me today. My name is Shobna Jayamadhavan. I'm the president of BC India Business Network, a non-profit, non-partisan trade organization based out of Surrey, British Columbia, Canada. And I am the president for the India side. And I am delighted that you have made time to participate in this very important show today. I would like to briefly introduce a very accomplished, compassionate, entrepreneurial leader we have with us today. Dr. Jagat Shah is a multipreneur with 8 businesses. He's your speaker today, and he's going to share information that will help us learn about global growth. With a diverse background spanning over 27 years in international trade, advisory, market research, economic development, and business mentoring, Dr. Shah brings a wealth of information, knowledge, and experience in the realm of global business. He has trained nearly 6,500 businesses and companies in several countries, including Canada and India, and many of them have started exporting. As an advisor for international business, including BC India Business Network. He has also supported governments overseas, including the Manitoba provincial government for 9 years. And his passion lies in being a roadie mentor, traversing the globe to train businesses on export market entry and growth strategies. And I personally had the pleasure of meeting him during one of his Mentor on the Road trips in Vancouver. Alongside, he serves as a visiting faculty at esteemed management schools both in India and abroad. His journey as the Mentor on the Road founder has taken him across 5 continents, including driving from Montreal to Vancouver over 21 days. He's worked on a myriad of projects in various industry verticals, from engineering to agriculture, arts and craft to food and business, from renewable energy to tourism. He has had the privilege of collaborating with diverse communities and businesses worldwide. Currently, Dr. Shah is spearheading 3 initiatives close to his heart. Number one, providing field inputs to national leadership on impact on key Indian initiatives like Make in India, Startup India, Skill India, and Digital India to take India to be a developed country by 2047. Second, empowering the 60 plus community by redeploying retired individuals to productive work. And last, transforming 174 villages in India into smart villages within 1,000 days through the Smart Village program through a World Bank funded project. And there's much more. But I'm conscious of time, and I know all of you are excited to listen to Dr. Shah. Thank you once again, and over to you, Dr. Shah.
Thank you, Subna ji, and thanks for inviting me. And I'm thankful to Vivek ji, you, Jatinder ji, and entire BCIBN team. I remember, you hosting me in Vancouver during the Mentor on Road tour, and it was an icing on the cake. It was one of the best events we did in all of Canada when I drove to 15 cities from Montreal to Vancouver. So thanks for that, and thanks for today. So, good evening to Canada and good morning to India. Friends, I want to share some of my experiences on trade and investment between India and Canada in these new changing times. Uh, See, we have to keep in mind that Canada and India are two democracies. We belong to the free world. We are part of the free world. Always use that word. We are the economies of the free world. India is the largest democracy in the world, and we had largest celebration of the festival of democracy last year in the Indian election, where there were 1 million polling booths, electronic polling booths. And just for your information, about 217 of them had repolling due to weather. So, and 600 million people voted. In India, the entrepreneur is the center of Indian economy. Unlike in a few countries where state is the center of India of that country's economy. And India is a market driven economy, not state driven. I always use the word that the entrepreneurs in India and Canada are the economic soldiers of our country. We are the economic soldiers. We should be very proud about it. There was a time when India was called Golden Bird, Sone ki Chidiya. And you might be surprised, and many of you may be knowing, that at that time 25% of the world GDP was Indian. And India was a large exporting country. There was no industrial revolution that time. But the entire world economy that time was a knowledge driven economy. And it is this knowledge driven economy which has come back now. We all know how IT is changing businesses, how AI, ML is changing businesses. And during pandemic, you would have seen that I mean, before pandemic, it used to take 10 years for companies in pharmaceutical to make a vaccine. And India made a vaccine in 1 year, and a good vaccine to that. So that vaccine is actually about knowledge, right? And India gave it to 100 countries for free. That is the Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam concept of India of centuries. And IT is another example of India's knowledge domain. So knowledge domain, and Canada is also good at the knowledge domain, because Canada's population is small, but it is a large economy in terms of its population. Now, what is happening is India is upgrading. India is upgrading from an offline, cash, informal, low productivity economy. This is what we were known for many years. Offline, cash, informal, and low productivity economy. To we are now transforming very, very fast. I'll give you some examples. To an online economy, cashless economy, a formal economy, and a high productivity economy. This change creates a huge opportunity for Canadian companies and Canadian businesses in India. But at the same time, India is innovating a very different model of growth. I think over a period of so many years since our independence in 1947, Indian governance and Indian leadership and Indian think tanks have understood that maybe wealth will not trickle down in India, and that is why India is raising the floor, right? So it's a very different model of innovation. And what is that model? So today, 41% of the world's digital transaction is done in India. Last year, India did double of the digital transactions of US and China put together. Now you can imagine the quantum, 41% of world digital transaction. Now that's what I call online cashless economy. In last 8 years, India gets foreign direct investment every year more than last year. It is increasing, and last 5 years it gets the highest foreign direct investment of the world. And mind you, a lot of companies abroad say that there is a lot of challenges with ease of doing business in India. It is true, but at the same time, you will be surprised. 93% of this foreign direct investment in India came through direct route. No application, no approval needed. It was a direct auto route, direct approval. And you will be surprised, this investment came from 160 countries in the world. 160, including Canada. And in 31 states of India. And in 42 sectors. So it is very geographically widespread, it is sector-wise widespread, and it is globally widespread. The opportunity which I see for Canadian companies in India, I will speak more in detail, but for example, 100 smart cities being built in India, huge opportunity for Canadian companies, because Canada is very good at IT, technology, technology leadership, R&D. That's an opportunity. 1,000 smart villages in India are being built. 80 new ports, as we discussed. Infrastructure is a big time opportunity in India. Last 3 years, India has been the fastest growing aviation sector in the world. If I'm not wrong, Canadian population is 41 million. You know, last year, India built 42 million affordable houses. And this year, the target is 30 million affordable houses. So you can see that the scale and the size and the speed of change. I always use this in Hindi and then I'll tell in English. In Hindi, I always say 5 opportunities: roti, kapda, makan, padhai, and dawai. Anything to do with food, anything with textile, anything with construction building material, anything with education, and anything with healthcare is a huge opportunity in India. And particularly education, healthcare, food, all that Canada is very good at. In fact, India imports a lot of pulses from Canada, and so that's an opportunity. Let me share with you something interesting, that India is the youngest nation in the world, 29 years. is the average age of India. 65% of India's 1.5 billion population is below the age of 35. 65%. That's like 1 billion. And 700 million people, 50% are below age of 25. And let me share with you the opportunity related to this statement. 1 billion people are below the age of 35, which means 100% they are digitally literate. Today, almost everybody below 35 has a smartphone and they are connected with internet. And huge opportunity, we have 100% digital literacy in that age group. 90,000 families in India have assets of more than $10 million. So now the next statement is very interesting, and that is a huge opportunity for Canadian companies in India. The middle class population of India is now 31% of India's population, which is about 430 million people, 10 times the population of Canada is the middle class population of India. A lot of times, Canadian companies, when I meet and we have interactions, they say, "Oh, India is a large country by population, but our products are little costly. Will it have a market?" So the 430 million middle class population is very aspirational. Is very aspirational, and they are moving to the next levels of prosperity, and they are consumers of everything. So there is a market for everything, and I'll talk about it. And let's look at future. By 2047, when India will complete 100 years of independence, the kind of projections that the change which is taking place, and if it continues, 21% of the world's workforce will come from India, and 20% of the world's middle class will be in India. Now that itself should ring a bell on the market opportunity. When I talk about international trade, I talk about five aspects. I talk about exports, imports, joint venture, technology transfer, and investment. So, both ways, exports from India to Canada, exports from Canada to India, imports both ways, joint venture in Canada, joint venture in India, investment in Canada, investment in India, technology transfer from Canada to India. So, also not only just products but also services, for example education, healthcare, IT. There are a lot of strengths of Canada which India needs in its development goals. With this background, let me share with you some figures. So if you see 2 years back, so 2023-24, India's export to Canada in terms of dollar value was $3.8 billion. And last year, 24-25, it was 4.2 billion, which is 10% growth. But mind you, India is the fourth largest economy now. It just took over Japanese economy, fourth largest. And $3.8 billion export to Canada is not India's potential. It is much more. Let's look at the other side. Canada's export to India in 2023-24, it was $4.5 billion. And this year, last year, it was again $4.5 billion, not much change. So between our two countries, our total trade is $8.3 billion. This is not our potential. Our potential is 5 times more than this. At the same time, the per capita income, there is a difference. So the GDP per capita income of India is $2,700 and Canada is $44,500. So in terms of both sides, I think the entrepreneur and governments both have to pull up their socks and make whatever changes have to be brought. On the total trade in 1 year, 23-24 to 24-25, the growth was hardly 1%. Now, let us look at an interesting figure. What are the top 10 economies of the world? And let us look at what Canada is doing with those top 10 economies and what India is doing. And then what is the commonality? Of course, we all know US is the largest economy in the world, $30 trillion. Right? China is second largest, 19 trillion. Then Germany, 4.74. India is now 4.19. Japan is 4.18. UK is $3.83 trillion. France is 3.21. Italy is 2.42, and Canada is $2.23 trillion. Ninth largest is Canada, fourth largest is India. One interesting thing I see in this is 70% of the Canadian, 76% in fact, 76% of Canadian export is to US. For last 20 years, I have been saying in so many forums, in so many platforms, that such a high dependence on one country for exports is not good. Canada needs to diversify its market, and we are seeing now the kind of challenges which Canada is facing in terms of the new leadership in US. So it is very important to diversify this dependence, and I call it a comfort zone for Canada. It's a very comfort zone for Canada. 3 hours flight, 4 hours flight anywhere in US and neighboring country. However, India, I mean, with the kind of growth which is taking place, is an opportunity. And let's see what is India's, India is trading with which top 10 countries in the world. So India's trade with US is $129 billion. Naturally, it will be because US is the largest economy of the world. But India's trade with China is $128 billion, almost similar to US. And UK 57 billion, Germany 28, South Korea 25 billion. I want to compare two countries with Canada, between India-Canada trade, South Korea and Italy. Why? One is in Asian continent, one is in Europe. South Korea's population is 51 million, kind of nearby to Canada, 41 million. And India-South Korea trade is 25 billion. India-South Korea trade is, Canada-South Korea trade is 20 billion. Canada-South Korea. And India-South Korea 25 billion. So at 8.3 billion between India and Canada, with a similar population size of South Korea, is what we have to understand, that we are not at our potential. Same way, if you look at Italy, India's trade with Italy is $14 billion. And again, Italian population is 58 million, right? So 14 billion. And India-Canada is 8.7 billion. And Canada-Italy trade is 7 billion, right? So I'm just trying to establish with some figures that the kind of trade which is happening is not our potential. Our potential is much, much more. What are the top 10 products which India is exporting to Canada? And it will be very interesting for you to note that highest export of India to Canada is pharmaceutical products. And pharmaceutical is the benchmark of quality. It is consumed by humans. It is about health. It is about cure. You can imagine if India is exporting highest of its products, which is pharmaceutical, to Canada, and in fact, third highest export of India to the whole world is pharmaceutical. It means India has reached that quality parameter, reached that quality benchmark. It was always a question in the past about quality in India, but it is the benchmark today because pharmaceutical is one of the top exports to the world and including to Canada. Then we have machinery, iron and steel, electrical and electronic equipment, gems and jewelry, pearls, organic chemicals, optical, medical apparatus, rubber, plastic, and a lot of food items, coffee, tea, spices. Those are the top 10 export products. From Indian point of view, Indian market point of view, we need to diversify this. We are too much dependent on those traditional products. We have to look at a lot of value-added products, which we need to look at Canada as a market. It is a win-win for both, and I'll come to that. Let's look at the reverse, what Canada is exporting to India. Top 10 value-wise products is coal briquettes, crude petroleum, diamonds, wood pulp, iron ore, pulses, paper, fertilizer, wheat, and aircraft. Except aircraft, all other 9 are raw material. This is a raw material. Canada also needs to get into high value added product export to India. India is a net importing country. India imports more than what it exports for 40 years. Last year also. Because India is growing so fast. India needs everything. So there is a need for more value-added products from Canada to be exported to India. And at the same time, what are the top 10 Canadian products export to the whole world? Whole world in value: crude petroleum, car, gold, refined petroleum, petroleum gas, aircraft, aluminum, wheat, copper, potash. So a lot of these products, some of these products not coming to India. If you are exporting to the whole world, it means you are very competitive in that. But if those are not being exported to India, you have to, Canada has to look at it, how to increase. What are India's top 10 export products to the whole world? Very interesting, smartphones. Now, I must tell you about smartphones. In 2014, in 2015, 98% of the mobile phones were imported in India. Today, 98% of the mobile phones are manufactured in India. In fact, India exported almost $30 billion. I'm not very sure about the figure, but somewhere like that, of mobile phones to the world. Highest export of India is today mobile phones. Petroleum products, of course, that is temporary because of Ukraine, and gems and jewelry, pharmaceutical, textile garments, electrical equipment, machinery. Again, a lot of these products which India is exporting to the whole world, including US, many of these products we are not exporting to Canada. So this is something Indian companies will have to look at. Let's go to services. Now, let me share with you something very interesting. India's total export last year was $778 billion. Out of that, almost $387 billion was services export. India is good at services, right? So, what are the top services export of Canada to anywhere in the world? Travel services, transportation services, commercial services like consulting, architecture services, intellectual property services, financial services, telecom services, construction services, cultural recreational services, insurance. So, a lot of these services are not in India from Canada. So, there is an opportunity. What are the top Indian services being exported to the whole world? Software services, business services, travel services, a lot of similarity. And except for software, there is an opportunity for other services to be explored in Canadian market. By giving these figures to you, I am trying to take you to a conclusion that the opportunity is huge and we have to raise the bar. Now, both ways, but more from Canadian point of view, that how Canada can do business with India, I want to share with you. And of course, this applies to Indian companies also, those who want to do business with Canada. I am challenging. I am using the word challenge. It's a very interesting. I am challenging that there is not a single product in Canada which is manufactured in Canada which cannot be exported to India. It is my challenge. I am ready to talk to any one of you. You tell me, hey, here is my product. Where is the market in India? I will tell you the market. India is very diverse. India is large. In India, 5% population is rich, but 5% of 1.5 billion is how much? 75 million, double of Canadian population. Is rich. They buy everything. There is no price issue. The quality, new variety. 30% is middle class population. Imagine 430 million people. There is a market for everything. Now, how to go about it? I run an international business school and I've been training, like Shobna introduced, a lot of Indian companies on going global and Canadian companies also. All over the world, we have in 45 countries, we have students, entrepreneurs. I always say 10 market entry method, and this applies to Canadian companies for Indian market. One is called SPANCO, which is SPANCO, suspect, prospect, approach, negotiate, close, and order. How do you get a business in India? So suspect India, prospect which companies are doing business, is all data based. You can go to a lot of data where you will be able to find what products are imported by India, in how much value, from which country, at what price, by which company, from which company. So that part of market research has to be done first. And it is very well documented in India and it is very well open and available. Having done that, you have to approach and then negotiate, close, and order. Now, the most important thing in India is to understand the cultural difference. So the Canadian culture is different, but it is very similar to US, and that is why there is a comfort zone between Canada and US in terms of trade. But Indian culture is different. So a lot of times I tell Canadian companies three things you have to understand about India. It is called ABC of India: Almighty, Bollywood, and cricket. Right. So this is the starting point of any discussion with an Indian company. Okay, and reference is very interesting. To give a reference in India, the moment you are able to create a reference, you can close a deal faster, and that is why it is very important to have a sales agent or some representative in India and who represents you, because that, I call it as a multiplier. They will take your business to multiple locations. And another approach which I feel both sides have not done, and huge opportunity, and some of my students are doing, and they have been extremely successful, is to open warehouse. Indian companies should open warehouse in Canada, and Canadian companies should open warehouse in India and stock the goods and sell, rather than expecting that I will get an order and I'll ship, because the timelines are so becoming, the supply chain is becoming so uncertain. Today, from India, if I place an order to a Canadian company, it will take 30-40 days to produce, and another 45 days for the ship to come to India. That's like 80 days. 80 days in today's world is so much of uncertainty. So if you do your market research well, you can actually stock in warehouse in India, which is one of the cheapest in the world, right? And you can deliver the goods. You can start small. It is not necessary to send a container. You can send $5,000 or $10,000 of goods also and test the market. That is the way trade will go. Third is e-commerce. You remember I told you the figure $1 billion, 1 billion people in India are digitally literate. That is an e-commerce opportunity. Walmart, which is a in-person shop, I mean it's a marketplace where people go to buy. They bought out a startup in India called Flipkart for 22 billion US dollar. 22 billion. Walmart is a physical store, but they know that the future in India is online. So e-commerce opportunity is huge. If you have set up your warehouse in India, you can actually do an e-commerce business through that warehouse. You can not only do B2B, but you can do B2C also. So, and same thing applies to Indian companies. And then visit India, meet, have B2B meetings. BCIBN is now in India. Sobna is here. She can arrange meetings. I have been fortunate to know the entire leadership of BCIBN. We work very closely. You should certainly visit exhibitions in India, and you will get a very good understanding. Sales agent I spoke about. GEM, like Canadian government also buys a lot of things online through international tendering. Same way, Government of India has a GEM, Global Government e-marketplace, where there is a international tendering and you can work through it. Merchant exporting, you can export through merchant exporters in Canada, and manufacturing or marketing joint ventures and franchise. There are a lot of Canadian brands which are very good, and Tim Hortons is now in India. I mean, whenever I go there, it is always full. Tim Hortons is always full, right? It's a brand, it's a franchise, and like that, there are so many brands in Canada which are not yet in India. So that's another approach, and I think I can go on and on, Subna, but I think I should stop here. And to some of the one thing I want to add is the startup revolution of India is amazing, because startup is something which Canada is also very good at. In 2015, we had about, I think, in terms of registered startups, about 452 startups. Today, we have more than 100,000 startups. And some of them, 80 startups are in space technology, startups in space technology, right? And the startup partnership between India and Canada, I think between the startup companies will be very interesting, because a startup from the very beginning, I have always used a definition of competitiveness I want to share with all of you. My definition of competitiveness is 4 parameter, and this is where I'm connecting to startups in Canada and India. Efficiently create goods and services which meet global market demand, leading to rising living standard for everybody in the society, and which is sustainable into the future. So efficiently create goods and services is innovation, which meet global market demand. You are a Canadian startup, you should look at global market from day one, including India. 1.5 billion people of a free world. India is a free world economy, keep that word in mind. And leading to rising living standard for everybody in the society. So equity of growth should be there and sustainable into the future, so eco-friendly. And with this startup culture in both the countries having strong roots, it is very important that the two startups in both the countries work together from a market point of view, also technology development point of view. And from Indian perspective, you see, it's a huge challenge. Last year, 16 million young graduates entered the job market in India. 16 million, one third of Canadian population entered job market in India in 1 year. And we were able to get jobs to hardly 9 million people. So what will the other graduates do? So entrepreneurship is the way forward in India, and that is what is we are seeing the success of Startup India for. And the one interesting opportunity, because Sobna, you were with university in Canada, is the academia industry connect in India is little weak. If you see, another element of competitiveness is the triple helix of competitiveness: government, academia, and industry. The flow of work and support between the three creates a competitive economy. The foundation of this is industry academia connect. Government to industry, government to academia, and both ways is okay. Industry academia connect in Canada is very good, is very practical. In India, it is the weak spot. And that is an opportunity for Canadian education institutions to look at India from the education perspective, to transfer that know-how or to work together to create academia industry connect in India, which will then take those businesses global, including to Canada. And I would like to, particularly in pandemic, something interesting happened, and we actually came out with a very interesting approach, which I am so glad World Bank. I had the opportunity to work with World Bank in many projects around the world as an implementing agency. But this World Bank is also working on that model now. Is KEYDW, and I'll encourage Canadian companies to look at this model, and Indian companies, of course. KEYDW. Today we are in a knowledge economy. We are in an eco-friendly economy. We are in a youth-driven economy. We are in a digital economy, and we are in an environment eco-friendly economy. These 5 elements, KEYDW, any business which incorporates into its systems will become competitive for next 20 years. So in both the countries, the companies have to work together on these lines. And I think, Shobana, there is a lot I can talk, but I think I should stop here. And I would like to take the floor to you. And anybody has any questions also, Shobana. Yes, over to you, Shobana ji.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Shah. I have to tell you, I felt I was sitting in a university classroom and listening to a professor. I am sure I'm not the only one who feels that we could listen to you for hours. And I so greatly appreciate, now that I'm living in India after more than 30 years in Canada, what I really appreciate is the sort of the bird's eye view you've provided, of India as a marketplace, but also how you've teased out the nuances, the cultural elements. And I don't think for the rest of my life, when someone says ABC, I think I'll immediately remember of almighty Bollywood and cricket. That's a really nice
Yes.
way to,
Yes.
to just encourage people to think about the cultural nuances. I want to make sure that our audience have an opportunity to ask questions, and the questions that have been posted over here on comments. Let's get started with it. Thank you, everyone, and join me in giving a virtual applause to Dr. Jagdish Shah, an amazing human being and leader and academic, who has been so generous over the years in sharing his experiences, his insights, and he's one of the few people who actually calls a spade when it comes to India-Canada economic partnerships, but also, someone who chooses to not focus on, issues that might be barriers, but more on what we actually can do and then talk about how we can do it. So let's get started with Cheryl Collins. Thank you so much for your comment and question, for your comment here, Cheryl. We appreciate that you took the time to join us. I'm going to post the first question we have here from Tanya Dawar. Dr. Shah, the question from Tanya is, do you think the absence of an FTA is preventing both countries from unlocking their full economic potential? If so, what do you see as the way forward?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, Tanya, I will tell you in 2022, India signed a free trade agreement with UAE, and about 94% of India's products to UAE is duty free, zero duty. And our trade within a year went up by 25%. Uh, Last year, we signed a free trade agreement with Australia. 90, again, almost 95% of the products are duty free both way, and we signed with a part of the European Union, and now the discussions is going with so many countries including USA. And with Canada, I think last 10 years we are discussing free trade agreement. That is what I told, that both the governments and entrepreneurs in both the countries have to pull up their socks. We have to get this done, right? And there is a new leadership in Canada. There is a strong leadership in India. I think we are at the right stage. I can tell you our trade to a trade 8.3 billion. If we get into a free trade agreement, in the very first year, this is being recorded. Maybe Sobhnaji, after a year, we will listen to this recording. Within first year, there will be 25% growth between trade between India and Canada. Last year was 1% growth, 25% growth, and we will be able to reach 5 times the potential. Our trade potential is 5 times of what is now, and free trade agreement will certainly have lead to that, and very encouraging. Our Minister of Commerce spoke to Anita Anandji. Our Foreign Minister Jaishankarji spoke to Anita Anand, your Honorable Foreign Minister, and they had a very good talk. And I'm confident that the discussion was on trade and investment also. And I'm very confident that by the end of this year, we should have a free trade agreement between India and Canada. And if that
Well, I'm sure
happens,
that's
yes, it will be a game changer. Yeah.
yeah, it'll be a game changer. And I think a lot of people over the years, and a lot of organizations like BCIBN and our founder, Dr. Vivek Ji, and
Correct.
many others have worked so hard over the years to try
Correct.
and bring it to a closure. And there have been some challenges, but I'm so glad to hear that you're very optimistic about this, and let's hope for the best. I want to take the next few minutes to focus on two areas which I think our audience will appreciate. I've been just looking at my personal comments that people have sent me, and thoughts that are being shared. You mentioned the extremely concerning statistics about the number of Indian graduates who come out of the education system, but then only a small number, of course, get jobs. And now with automation and AI and all the disruptions happening, I think we're going to see more of this. What is your advice to a young graduate who is now struggling to find a job or is not sure that he or she is going to be able to keep the job and would like to explore entrepreneurship? If you were to break it down to the three things that a young graduate should and can do to become an entrepreneur, what would that be?
Yeah, so very good, Shobhnaji. This is a very interesting topic, and I address a lot of students in many universities, and I always talk about this. So, see, what is the challenge in India with the education system is that our education system is not very practical, industry based. If I am running an industry, I am always saying that so many graduates are passing, but I am still not getting people, because I am not getting the people with the skill that I want in my business, because that skill is not being trained in our universities in India. So first thing is the curriculum, and fortunately, the new education policy in India is addressing that to some extent, but still it needs to change. As a youngster, I will encourage that instead of just keeping yourself with the what is being taught in the university and college, that academia industry connect. They should take advantage either through an institutional framework of the university or individually through their family, through their network of friends, because the true education they will get is in the academia industry connect. So, for example, internships. Now, let me share with you. In my introduction, you had mentioned that I'm also involved with an organization of 60 plus. So we are connecting 60 plus age group people, which is now almost I think 100 million in India, right? A 60 plus population to the workplace where is I was just talking to a very senior architect, and he said, in the school of architecture, I go in the last semester 6 months, I am actually teaching the students that what is the real world of an architecture firm. When you join an architecture firm, what is it that they expect from you? And that has been missing for all that 3 years of education, and they get surprised that we did not know, right? So for example, just taking them to a architecture firm and making them work there for 15 days is going to change their perspective. That is not happening so much, and that is something which needs to happen. And you see, this was our heritage. The Gurukul system of education which India had was skill based. It was a skill based education system. So skill based has to come, and to the young people, I will say, understand the pain point of society. See, wherever the youngsters are living in their home, their friends, their town, their university they go to, surrounding, there is so much of pain point in the society. And if they observe the pain point, they should actually think of some startup, some business which will solve that pain point. Every pain point solution for society is a business opportunity. So they should observe, they should be observant, and look at pain points of society and try to solve that. Now, every youngster in India is connected to families, and their families would be connected to entrepreneurs or professionals, and they should try to engage with them, that understand their pain point and work on solving that even while they are still in college. It is not necessary to wait for to graduate to be able to do that, right? This is something which happens in Canada a lot, and Canada is good at it. So that is, I think, more industry focus, more exposure to the industry, and then relate your academic education to that experience. And the moment they pass out, they will be hired, right? There will not be a challenge, because today, let me tell you, while I told you that 16 million graduates every year in India, but not many getting job, but at the same time, industry is complaining that we are not getting the kind of people we want. So we have to understand this is the gap.
No, thank you so much for laying it out. That's really, really important. And this academia industry, disconnect, I think is an issue that's being talked about quite a bit. And I'm glad you raised the good point of the new education policy in India. It's trying to address it. I'd love for you to take the question from JD. What will be your advice for a layman getting in or interested in getting into start trade with India? Could you give us a few steps?
Yeah, so Jatinder ji, thank you very much. It was a pleasure to host you in Vibrant Goa on behalf of BCIBN. We had a great time. You see, the first 5 steps, if I have to say, to get into business in India is, as I mentioned, is first is market research. All the data is public. All the data is available. You have a HS code of your product or service, you can actually go online. There is a Ministry of Commerce website of Government of India. You can put in that code. You will see how much India is importing or exporting, what value, from which country, which companies, what price, everything. So it will give you a very clear idea of the market. So, for example, a lot of wine companies in Canada contact me saying, we want to enter Indian market. India is importing more wine than what it produces. So naturally it is coming from somewhere. So there is an opportunity. But when you look at data, you get that confidence. Okay, and then second very interesting thing is visit exhibitions in India. The moment you visit an exhibition, you will come to know that, oh, in my same business, Japanese company is there, Korean company is there, British company is there, French company is there, American company, Chinese, Japanese, and you will understand that how they are doing business, even Indian companies, and you will get a very clear idea from good exhibitions you must go to. That's the second point I will say. And then e-commerce. I will suggest e-commerce is where India is moving. The distribution system in India is changing from a dealer distributor system to online, because every youngster you ask today, everybody is ordering online in India. Everybody is ordering online. Are you there? If you can either be there in terms of the aggregator, Amazon, Flipkart, all of these aggregators, or you can have your own standalone portal, right? And I'm talking about this both ways. So that the third is e-commerce as a market opportunity. And in order to get into e-commerce, you will need a storage because you have to deliver next day. A lot of people say, oh, e-commerce is IT. I don't understand IT. E-commerce is not IT business. E-commerce is logistics business. You set up your IT platform once, but you have to make delivery every day. So it's a logistic business. So you need a warehouse. You need a point where you will stock. And it's not that you need a huge warehouse and you're going to invest big money and you don't have big money, so I should not do warehouse. I will give you a thumb rule. 350 US dollar per 20 feet container per month is the rental in India. 20 feet container per month. You can take a shared warehouse, 3PL services. 350 US dollar. It's not a big deal. You can start with that amount. It's not, you don't have to hire a big warehouse. A very, very small part of shared warehouse can you can start with. And then sales agent is very important. You should have somebody representing you. And government e-marketplace. You'll be surprised. Let me give you some interesting figure and then you can correlate. American economy is 30 trillion. $6 trillion is government purchase in US. 6 trillion. I mean government spending. Out of that, 3 trillion is government import. Right? Now, imagine $3 trillion. The Canadian economy is 2.4 trillion. 3 trillion. Indian economy is 4 trillion. 3 trillion is just American government purchase. Same way as Indian government. Indian government purchase is big, huge. And I call it institutional buyer. The central government, the state government, municipal corporation, public sector undertaking, and everybody now compulsorily has to buy from GEM portal, and they have to put their tender there. So you can apply, and you will be able to get into the market. And very important to visit, meet people, and constant visit. In one visit you cannot do. If I come once to Canada, I cannot get business. You have to be constantly meeting people, and same thing should happen from you. And another is franchise, as I said. So if you think you have got a good popular name in Canada with your product, you can just simply take your brand and franchise to India. There is a demand. There are a lot of families who are wanting their children to take up some new business other than what they are running, and they are ready to invest money on franchises. Huge number of such families. We have almost 60 million entrepreneurs in India, right? It is 1.5 times more
Thank you
population
so
of
much.
Canada is just the entrepreneurs.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jagaji. I'm conscious of time. We have about 8 more minutes to go. So I'm going to quickly ask you to give a brief response to Amit Gupta's comment and question. And then I have a close-out question that is a little bit more personal, which I would like to ask you. So Amit's question is, we have heard some stories that local Indians based in Canada have deceived or duped Indians who are planning to export to Canada, which has discouraged some from exporting there. How can this be addressed?
Yeah, so Amit, every country in the world, including India, has good and bad people. Everywhere. Everywhere. I'm sure when Elon Musk goes to Mars, he will find good and bad there. Okay, so it is this with whom, that is why it is very important to do due diligence. I always tell my students, before you get into business with any company, either way, always do due diligence. Spend money on that. There are institutions whom you pay money and you can get a due diligence report as a third party. So otherwise it's very difficult to know, right? So without due diligence, you should never get into. You have to do only once, right? And then the trade will continue if the report comes good. So it is we have to follow this process. We are not following the process. So sometimes this happens, and it happens both ways, right? So it is not just about Canada. In India also it happens. A lot of companies abroad tell me that this happened to me. I ordered and quality was very poor. And just recently a company sent the coffee Tim Hortons, for the Tim Hortons, the the glass which is used, and they showed me the picture and all. It was very poor quality, so naturally it will not be paid. So what my point is, on both the sides we should do due diligence. Both sides should do. And then there are also redressal mechanisms. Now, for example, if you have shipped and you have done, you can take ECGC insurance, so your payment is secure. So there is a government institution in India, Export Credit Guarantee Corporation. You take insurance. They will not give you insurance if the importing company is not good. So by default, there will be a due diligence, right? So follow those processes, and I don't think this problem. This problem is small percentage, and it happens everywhere.
Thank you for that. I think it's a very important issue and a question that Amit has raised. And I think, apart from some of the government checks and balances that we have on both sides, I think also it's really important people, no matter where in the world they live, to network with local trade organizations, and to get to know people who are established, credible leaders from whom they can take advice. I see that we have one more question, and that's going to be the absolute last one because I do have a question for you. Akash Agarwal is asking, what sectors or industries do you see as high potential for startups in India over the next 5 years? 60-second answer would be great.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, Akash, I told roti, kapda, makan, padhai, dawai is very basic. Food, textile, construction, building material, education, healthcare. It is a basic need of every Indian, every citizen, right? And it's only going to grow because population is growing. So anything in this domain is always, always, always a market, and there's always a pain point. There is always a pain point in all these five. Beyond that, I mean, India is 1.5 billion people. Everything is an opportunity. The challenge is that you have to look at the pain point. What is the pain point, and solve that pain point through a business model, right? Space technology is an opportunity. I said 80 startups are there in that space, right? So space technology, anything in IT. So these five is basic to me, right? Other than that, there is an opportunity in every area.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for patiently answering the questions, and thank you so much to our audience who have asked some fantastic questions, and it's helped us cover a broad range of topics, concerns, and things that we need to be aware about. The last 3 minutes we have here, it's going to be a personal fireside chat almost, Dr. Shah. So I've known you for the last little while. I've followed you, and apart from being, I think, a phenomenal multipreneur and an academic, you also have a very artistic side to you. And I think literature is something that you're very passionate about. And then you travel, you have the Mentor on the Road, and you've done projects in places as far as Afghanistan, Canada, and just now you're going to be going to Australia. So that's a lot on your plate. So this question is basically a question which I hope will motivate people who are watching us, listening us today around the world. What motivates you to wake up in the morning and do what you do?
Yeah, so Sobna, I mean, see, I'm very passionate about one subject, that is international business. Because why? Because I consider export to be the benchmark of competitiveness. It is through international business. See, look at Canada and look at India. Canada, $2.4 trillion economy. World economy is 112 trillion. I ask entrepreneurs, will you grow in a 2.4 trillion Canadian economy, 4 trillion Indian economy, or a 108 trillion economy which is outside India? So that is the opportunity, and the information and gap is there. So there is a huge information gap. That is my passion. I want businesses to go global, and all my effort is in that direction. When I do Mentor on Road tour, also it's my hobby. Me and my wife, we drive around the world for many years. And but when we drive, we do mentoring, and we mentor women-owned business, we mentor startups, we mentor small medium enterprise, we mentor Indian diaspora, educating them of what is changing in India. When we do Mentor on Road in India, we educate them on how to take their business global. That gives me a kick. Every day I get messages on my phone that I attended your program that time, and now this is my first shipment is going. This is my 10th shipment. I mean, that is my day. Every day morning, Sofnaji, you asked, when I see my phone, there is one such message and my day is done. I said, okay, I am on the right path. So creating competitiveness. Why? Why? Because it is about job creation. Everywhere in the world, I think the ultimate goal of any government is job creation. When an entrepreneur starts exporting, their business will grow and they will hire more people. There is no greater cause than that. You can give a donation somewhere, but it is a one time thing. You don't even know what happens to that money. But when you create a job, you are taking care of that family for lifetime, their children education, their health care, their ambitions, their dreams. There is no greater cause than that. And an entrepreneur, that is why they should grow business. That is my effort to educate entrepreneurs, because I know by exporting anywhere, even for Canadian companies, they will grow and they will hire more people. And of course, Mentor on Road, I enjoy driving, me and my wife, and we go to travel places, we meet so many diverse people, we eat the food of that local place, and we enrich ourselves, and we feel very happy about what we are able to contribute to society.
Amazing. Yeah. Absolutely. And I think, nestled within that beautiful answer is also life work balance. How
Yes,
you're
yeah, yeah.
able to pursue your passions, spend time with your partner, travel around the world, and put your heart and soul and intellect into a cause. This has been an absolute pleasure to host you, Dr. Jagat Shah. And on behalf of BC India Business Network, the founder, Dr. Vivek Savkor, the president in Canada, Jitinder Dhir, who we fondly call as JD, the board of
Yeah.
BCIBN advisors, and all our members, my heartfelt thanks to you. And I look forward to seeing you in person in
Yes.
Kochi. And
Yeah.
on the comments section here, I would appreciate if you could just drop a line for how people could reach you or get in touch with you or your website. And for our viewers here, have a fantastic evening in Canada and a fantastic morning here in India. You can check out bcibn.com at any time. And our next speaker for the Global Impact Series will be Dr. Philip Laird, who is the VP of Global Partnerships of Trinity Western University, Canada. And so please keep in touch. Thank you so much for your time. And Dr. Jagat Shah, I wish
Thank
you
you.
a wonderful day here in India. Goodbye,
Thank you.
everyone.
And
Thank you.
thanks to Nikhil Bansali for setting this up. Thank
Yes,
you.
absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you, Nikhil. Big shout out to Nikhil, too. Thank you, everyone. Take good
Thank
care.
you.
Bye for
Thank
now.
you. Jai Hind.